I was absolutely stunned when I watched that all play out with giving the raises. I absolutely understand, essential workers and community servants and what they're doing, and that's a tough job. I'm not saying by any means that what the police officers do is an easy job. It's not necessarily something that a lot of people want to do. However, to prioritize one group of community workers and say, you're important, and yet our teachers are not. And let's not forget, the teachers were promised. They were also told.
So today on the show, we're really happy to have Kimberly Peterson running for County Commission in District 5. Kimberly, thanks for being on the show.
Hold up. What does County Commission even do?
Knox County Commission is the legislative body of Knox County. It consists of 11 members, 9 elected at the district level and 2 who are elected countywide to serve at large. County Commission approves the overall budget for Knox County, which includes funding for libraries, the jail, roads and sidewalks, parks and recreation, and capital expenditures such as new schools or community centers. They also approve budgets for both the Knox County Sheriff's Department and Knox County Schools, which gives them an opportunity to have a big say in how we prioritize education and law enforcement. However, once the budgets are approved, both of those organizations are completely self-contained and managed. Commission is responsible for approving all resolutions, ordinances, honorariums, road names, and most contracts for Knox County, and they set the county's property tax rate. They can propose increases to both sales tax and the wheel tax, but those require approval from voters. Traditionally, Knox County Commission has been primarily white, primarily male, and primarily conservative. This is very different from what you currently see in the city of Knoxville, which has its own legislative body, the City Council.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna do something a little different this time. You're in for a special treat, because normally we ask questions and then go to a lightning round, but you get the lightning round first. So I wish you the best of luck. Have fun.
Thank you.
Okay, Kimberly, are you ready for this?
I guess I'm ready. I hope you don't throw me any real curveballs, but
Okay, you're going to get a whole lot of curveballs, a whole lot of sliders, and you've not nearly prepared enough for it. But the hardest part is coming first. So
Okay.
It's downhill after that, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You got to answer these questions in the parameters I give them to you. And if you get stuck on one, you can yell voter fraud.
Okay.
And then you get to pass. So let me hear you say voter fraud.
Voter fraud.
Okay. All right, you ready?
I guess I'm ready.
You need to take a drink or a shot or something? You need to work on your nerves? Okay, here we go. Okay. Dolly Parton or Michelle Obama?
Dolly Parton.
NBA or women's soccer?
Women's soccer.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Favorite flavor of Gatorade?
I guess the orange.
Hiking boots or cowboy boots?
Hiking boots.
Tupac or Biggie?
Biggie.
Protesting or promoting?
Protesting.
Are you a top or a bottom?
Top. Always.
My girl, my girl. Okay, drummer or lead guitar?
Drummer.
More jobs or more parks?
Jobs.
Margaritas or Bloody Marys?
Margaritas.
Last book you read?
I am reading, oh gosh, I've got 3 going at the same time. I'm doing Angela Davis's book right now.
All right, that'll work. Lift up or shut up?
Lift Up.
First car you ever had?
It was a Oldsmobile called the Ox. It was black.
Have you ever done a keg stand?
No.
Oh my God, I can't take you to a party, but you survived. That's it.
I was always doing shots, so.
you made it.
I'm known for, I guess, Purple Hooters shots.
Purple Hooter shooters.
Purple Hooter shooters. So back in the day.
Party. Okay, we're good.
All right, so today on the show, we're really happy to have Kimberly Peterson running for County Commission in District 5. Kimberly, thanks for being on the show. I want to start out by asking you, you stated in an interview from February of this year, you'd like to see businesses with progressive concepts that reflect the diversity within your district and other areas of the country. Can you please talk more specifically about what kinds of businesses you'd like to see be developed in District 5?
There's these great places for people to gather and build community, and we just don't seem to have that. We have, some local businesses, but we're pretty much dominated by chain restaurants and Turkey Creek. So I would like to see, some local bakeries. I mean, we have VG's Bakeries, but it's doesn't have a real area to gather. So I'd love to see them expand so that we could, go there and grab a cup of coffee, have a pastry, and just kind of hang out. So, and that's something that not only I found to be challenging, but also my constituents. There's nowhere to kind of hang out and build community. And, when we see that in a lot of other areas, they are known as Happy Holler or, just different Island Home or different communities. And 5th District seems to be lacking that so far. And I don't know if it's because necessarily of that lack of sort of gathering spaces, but that was something that I thought that we could really improve upon, is to bring people together.
You have advocated for criminal justice reform here in Knoxville. Can you name 2 specific areas that you think would be most beneficial to the Black community here?
Well, I think first of all, one of the things that we are really locked into, I get asked this question about overcrowding in the jails, and, everybody wants to automatically build a new jail. And I am totally against that idea, because I think it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. You build it and then we've got to fill it, and it becomes this vicious cycle. One of the major problems that we see in this area, first of all, is that we lock people into a prison sentence or prison time for nonviolent crimes, often for poverty reasons. So basically, people are arrested on something fairly minor, a nonviolent crime, but they can't make bail. And so they sit and languish in our jails for a long time until their trial comes or a hearing comes. Because they simply can't afford the bail. And so I've been a huge supporter. There's an organization called the Black Mamas Bailout. And these are a group of women that are determined to help raise funds to get women out of jail that are sitting there for, months and months when they could be at home. I mean, like I said, they're not violent criminals. So, that's one thing I see, is that poverty is really one of the biggest issues when it comes to talking about prison reform, is that, why you can't talk about crime and without talking about poverty.
You've volunteered as a spokesperson for the local chapters of the Women's March and for Allies of Knoxville's Immigrant Neighbors. Do you think there's going to be a challenge winning over West Knoxville voters who as a whole might be less receptive to those sorts of organizations as compared to people who live downtown? And if so, how do you win them over? Or have you found in your campaigning that they're actually out there, they're just maybe less vocal about their support for those organizations?
I think they're out there. I mean, that's part of the reason why I decided to run. I was approached by the Democratic Party and asked to run because there was such a ripe group of people that were in this area that are looking to rally around a candidate. So we have a very, very active 5th District Democratic chapter that is, doing a lot of work here. They're doing a lot of organizing already. And so it's not been a hard sell. I mean, that's part of when you become a candidate, and especially with me, because I am an activist and an advocate, how do you do that? You can't do what you do as an activist as a candidate. So, it was kind of like this weighing of how much do I say, true to who I am and how much do I soften that. And basically, I decided in the end that I'm going to be who I am and I'm going to do what I do. And, that's why I was asked to run, is because of the leadership that I exhibited in those activities. So there's a lot of support for those things out here.
Please elaborate more on the collaborative relationship that you'd like to see between developers and citizens within the community when it comes to growth and development in the 5th District.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are so many communities that are really getting it right. And I think that that's one thing that we have to do in this area, that the constituents, the citizens, the homeowners, the people of our community are extremely frustrated because what they have seen for, I know, at least the last 20 years is that we're doing things the same way over and over and expecting different results. And that's, the definition of insanity. So we have to get smart about looking at other areas that have done it well. How were they able to do it? One of the most successful models that I've seen is enacting community agreements. So basically the idea of a community agreement is that you bring, the stakeholders to the table and you have conversations surrounding that as far as, the developers want to pitch a project and, that's wonderful. We need to grow. We have to be smart about growing. We can't stop progress, but how we go about doing that and who we involve in that process can definitely change. Right now, it's pretty much the developers are driving it. And, I've seen far too often by attending these, the county commission meetings, the citizens are outraged because they're told all these things when a project begins or when they pitch a project, and there's this lack of follow through. The promises just don't happen. And, on the other side of that is there's no consequences. There's nothing, they're not held accountable in any way. And I love the idea of a community agreement where you bring people to the table.
I was looking at some demographics data on statisticalatlas.com. District 5 in Knox County is almost 90% white. My question is, what ideas do you have to attract a more diverse group of people to District 5 who might be looking to relocate within the, to the Knoxville area?
Well, I think some of the things I mentioned before, we're if we had some diversity of businesses, diversity of shops and offerings, the different types of arts and entertainment, some of those things are attractive to more diverse groups. And so, it is a real failing. I mean, we do have, when I started studying our district, I know what I see, as I drive around. But it was very encouraging to see that we have one of the largest Muslim populations in our district. And, the community is welcomed and very much a part of, and, ingrained into our community. And so, I think that it is a welcoming community. It's just, first of all, we're farther out. I mean, where I am, I'm actually at the Loudoun County line. So, we're very, very far away from the downtown area. We don't have public transportation that comes out this far. That's another area that we could improve.
This is a really tough budget year for the county and for everybody. We know because of the shutdowns, the economic shutdowns, that sales tax revenues are really down. There's some concerns that people might not be able to pay their property taxes this year. So there have been cuts across the board. Knox County Schools has had to cut their budget pretty dramatically, even though it's a time when they're going to need more money for things like cleaning supplies to be able to open safely. And yet, of all of the possible things that the county commission could focus on, there was a vote to dip into the county reserves to give $1,500 bonuses to every Knox County Sheriff's deputy on the force. So, like,
I knew where you were going with this because
Yeah.
we're on the same wavelength. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, besides things like maybe not building a new jail, what are some specific changes you would like to see made to KCSO? And how do you anticipate building a consensus for those sort of changes on a county commission that is largely conservative?
Well, it's going to be an uphill battle. I mean, let's be honest. I know that. I think, though, that if we can get, you know, if you look at the Knox County Commission race, we have, you know, great candidates. We have 4 progressive candidates that, and we wouldn't be the majority by far, but we would start turning the tide. You know, if we can all get elected, we're going to start turning the conversation and the nature of the conversation, because right now, you know, we're just not seeing any sort of challenges. We're just seeing this kind of rubber stamp approach to everything. So, you know, hopefully getting into office is the first step for that. But, you know, I was absolutely stunned when I watched that all play out with giving the raises, because I absolutely understand, you know, essential workers and community servants and what they're doing, and that's a tough job. I'm not saying by any means that what the police officers do is an easy job. It's not necessarily something that a lot of people want to do. However, to prioritize one group of community workers and say, you're important, and yet our teachers are not. And let's not forget, the teachers were promised, you know, they were also told. So, you know, that was very frustrating for me, because the teachers were told that they were going to get, you know, 4% more than that they ended up getting. And yet it was not on the table to go dip into any sort of reserves for them. And yet, you know, we had the strong showing at the county commission meeting, and it was a done deal. I mean, there wasn't even any debate or anything about that. So, you know, I'm also extremely disappointed. One of the things that I am absolutely determined when I get in office, we have got to have a version of PARC, which is the, you know, oversight review committee that the city has for the Knoxville Police Department. We have no version of that in the county. And, you know, basically there's no sort of organization, there's no sort of discussion between the community and the sheriff's department. So it's kind of like this unchecked department that is pretty much doing what they want with very little, you know, conversation.
Can you please talk about how growing up in various places around the United States and in numerous countries around the world, in addition to having a large blended family, has prepared you for collaborating with and serving the people living in District 5?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, a lot of people take pride in the fact that I was born and raised here. And I think that that's a, you know, a wonderful thing that you are embedded in the community and have long experiences with the community. But, you know, again, I think that the flip side of that is that you have a lot of the same, you know, I mean, it's an experience that's kind of homogenous. You know, a lot of people in East Tennessee are alike. And so, you know, you run the risk, unless you're very conscious of it, you run the risk of kind of getting in a bubble, I think. And whereas I grew up in a military family, so we've lived, you know, all over the United States. We lived out west in Idaho. We lived in Bangor, Maine. We lived in, you know, by the beach in Charleston. We lived in Spain. And, you know, the military is probably, I feel like, you know, especially my father was enlisted. He wasn't an officer, he was an enlisted in the Navy. And it's very diverse. I mean, you've got a diversity amongst not only ethnicity, but, you know, other cultural factors such as religion, socioeconomic factors. I mean, we lived in base housing, which, everybody's kind of in the same boat. And so you're next to people where, there's different languages, different backgrounds, different exposures. So, I loved it. I mean, growing up, one of the things that I loved to do was I loved to go to church with people because it was so fascinating to see how different people worshiped. I attended, in the Mormon faith, they have a thing called family home evening where I attended with my neighbor, and so you kind of see with having these sort of diverse experiences and, going to different faith services or going to different homes where they're eating different foods, you see all these wonderful variety and things that are so different, and yet woven in through that are just these central themes. I mean, by far, when you boil it down, faith, there's a lot of things that we do ceremoniously that are different, and there are some fundamental differences, but I think most faiths teach these core values that are unified in the different denominations and different affiliations. And so, that experience kind of allowed me to see, oh yeah, okay, that was different, but yet this. And so I learned how to sort of, find commonalities that would unite us and, bring together a diverse group of people.
I was driving around today and I thought of another question for you.
Sure.
Your campaign signs are very aesthetically pleasing.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the branding as a whole is very aesthetically pleasing and it's unique. It looks different than typical campaign signage. Do you have a really good graphic designer? Were you involved in that? Was that your idea to like, hey, let's switch this up and do something different visually? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad I get to talk about that because the person who actually did all my sort of branding is my dearest best friend from high school. So she and I have been friends for 30 years, and she does a website marketing. She's worked with moveon.org and a lot of Sierra Club and those kinds of folks. So she's done that branding and marketing for 25 years, I guess it is. And so we sat down and I thought, she knows me. This is a person who knows me the best. And so we sat down, and it was really a quick process. I mean, it was funny because, I knew right away, I'm not the red, white, and blue kind of girl. I mean, as you can see from my house, you're kind of getting an idea. I'm very colorful. I love color. I'm a cultural anthropologist, so I love bright, rich, vibrant colors and textures and weaving and all that kind of stuff. So, when we sat down and talked, it was like, okay, obviously I'm not going to do red, white, and blue. And, she said, well, when I think of you, I always think of like, oranges and reds and yellows and blues. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's what I want.
Yeah, thanks so much. And we usually give candidates the final word. If there's anything else you want to say to the voters.
Yeah, I mean, just get out and vote. We're seeing the numbers, and I know that we're in this. Everybody wants to say we're in this red area. We're not. We're in an area where people are not coming out to vote. That's what has happened historically. We're in an area where we have historically not had progressive candidates. That's all changed. So you have no excuse this time. You've got, folks on the ballot. You've got choice. We've got, the COVID obviously has handicapped a little bit of our ability to go out and canvass, but we're doing our best to phone bank and reach out to voters that way. Get your friends out because we can win this. The numbers are there. We have the Dems in 5th District to win this, but you gotta vote. So do it. No excuses.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.